Are we moving in the right direction or of resilience, or are we actually becoming more exposed to risk, Prof?
Okay, thanks. Very good questions. Basically, we can easily say, yeah, we are very exposed to these food securities across ASEAN, but ASEAN itself has basically have been as a region, yeah, as an economic bloc, looking at this issue, I think quite some time. And ASEAN with economic bloc over 660 million people, and is projected to grow to, I think, about 723 million by 2030. Must ensure that we have enough, yeah, food system, so that we have sufficient and nutritious food for all the people. So the problem is that as ASEAN is growing rapidly, and we can see that a lot of countries in ASEAN, from Indonesia, Vietnam, Thailand, Philippines, and Malaysia, the leading, as well as Singapore, there is a lot of rapid population growth. And then at the same time, we also facing increasing disposable income, which is good, but eventually it will lead to higher demand. Then place for urbanization, yeah, and of course changing dietary patterns as the lifestyle change. So all these basically transform the food consumption landscape. And as we are more exposed, yeah, to the more to the global supply chain, trade restrictions, movement restrictions, yeah, emergence of protectionism, yeah, which recently Trump trades, yeah, trade blocks, yeah, and a lot of countries looking at self-sufficiency. Mirul, yeah. Just I give you some example, yeah, during the pandemic years, when there was a shortage of wheat and corn due to the conflicts between Russia and Ukraine, right? And that created a shortage of wheat. In fact, during that time, India, the second largest exporters of wheat, refused to export, yeah, because by itself for its domestic use. And then it banned basically wheat export in May 2022, because as part of the measure to control the rising domestic price in India. So this basically just an example, yeah, of the fragility of the ASEAN food system, exhibiting that this is the challenges and the vulnerabilities. And ASEAN itself, Southeast Asia, is basically recognized, yeah, as one of the world's most susceptible in terms of climate change. We know this area, our area, is a region highly vulnerable to the adverse effects of climate change, yeah, increased temperatures, changing rainfall patterns, yeah, which basically disturb a lot of agriculture patterns, extreme weather, drought, floods, yeah, you name it, we have it. So these climate-related challenges directly affect ASEAN agriculture productivity, leading to yield losses, crop failures, and livestock death. So it is very important issues to be discussed, Mirul. And then, yeah, that's what how we start off our session with.
Rightly so, Prof. You mentioned that it is an important issue to be discussed with the vulnerability of ASEAN in terms of food security. So do you think that food security is being given the urgency that is needed and political weight it truly deserved by ASEAN leaders, or is it still being treated as a background issue in this, Prof?
I think ASEAN itself recognized this is a critical problem. If you look at all the efforts, it's not has been shown in the media actually. But one of the recent one would be in September 2023 in Jakarta, whereby all the ASEAN leaders has a declaration on strengthening the food security, nutrition in response to the crisis. So if you go back further, in 1968, historically, ASEAN cooperation in the agriculture and food sector dated back as early as that, yeah, looking at the cooperation in food production and supply. And then, somewhere in 2015, up to plan to 2020, there was something they call it ASEAN Integrated Food Security. We also call it AIFS, a framework of strategic plan action on food security. And then, furthermore, there is also something we call ASEAN Food Security Reservoir, or AFSRB. Yeah, it was established to review, monitor, and evaluate the situation of food security, yeah, across the globe, across ASEAN as a region, and at country levels. In order to support all this, all the ASEAN member states basically agreed to develop ASEAN Food Security Information System. So it's very there, it's there, the system is there. Then even we have ASEAN plus 3, which means including of China, Japan, and Korea. It's basically for rice reserve, or we call it APTER, just to strengthen the food security cooperation in the region through systematic data collection, analysis, in terms of dissemination of food security. All these are there. So we cannot say that the government of each of the respective ASEAN countries did not take care about this, and they are, and because it just not been highlighted in the media. And basically, in the 2015 also, there was a strategic plan of ASEAN, cooperation of food, agriculture, even forestry, which actually end today, this year, 2025. It was started in 2016 up to 2025, which basically defines the vision, the goals for food, agriculture, and forestry sector. So all in all, I think it has been a very much, we call that, aligned, to all between all the ASEAN countries in terms of food security. They have something in mind as old as 1968. So that is more than 50 years. And until now, and it's still been looked at. And the latest one would be in the 2023, as I mentioned, in Jakarta. All the leaders has made a declaration, especially after the pandemic years. The pandemic years was the one that highlight the vulnerability of all the countries in ASEAN.
Prof, you mentioned just now that there are plans in place, for example, the AIFS, ASEAN Integrated Food Security, meaning there are some sort of understanding between the ASEAN states and ASEAN state leaders. But in the event of a sudden food supply disruption that is quite concerning right now with the tensions of US and China relations and geopolitical risks and all that, do you think this response or this plan is enough in order for us as a region to ensure the food disruption is at a minimal level, Prof?
Good question. This is, well, at least we must have a plan. And we plan, and Allah is the best planner of all. We put all the plans together, and the other thing is how about the execution of the plan. So as we know, food security is the fundamental concern for everybody, all the countries. It's because without enough food, it will create a lot of social instability, destabilize the whole region. And we had this problem some time ago in Timor-Leste. We had that in last time in Jakarta. When the people tummy is not full, then they will start, having this problem, rioting and so on. So whatever the plan, whatever it must be connected. And ASEAN doesn't look only in ASEAN, as I mentioned, it was also ASEAN plus 3. Of course, it's looking only at the staple food of ASEAN, which basically rice. The other one is corn or maize. And then even looking at this role, even ASEAN Food Security Reserve, in 1979, played the biggest role in terms of rice supply for ASEAN. That is our staple food in this part of the world, not wheat. So in terms of food policies, they are there, but whatever it is, it has been challenged during the pandemic, yes. So that's why in 2023, all the leaders look at this as something that critical. Need to. Luckily, it wasn't prolonged. For some time, and then the price came back. To what it was prior to pandemic. So whatever it is, there will always be a challenge. Especially with the, as you say, geopolitical risk. And in terms of disruption to the global supply chain, which will have immediate effect on our food supply. And this must be looked at, and from time to time, as long as the plan is not static, must be dynamic, and it must be evaluated according to the dynamic changes of the market, of the global whatever the issue is.
Prof, some have proposed a collective ASEAN food emergency reserve. In your view, is is that realistic, and what would it take politically and also practically to make it something like that happen, Prof?
We need to have that. The Malaysia being the chairman of ASEAN need to take it as a step further to look at a collective food emergency reserve. So as we can see that different countries, we have 10 countries in ASEAN, we can see that like Singapore and Thailand are more advanced in this food supply. They have modern technology, but you look at countries like Myanmar, Laos, yeah, and then these countries like Timor-Leste, they are lacking in terms of planning on the food security. So we need to have, of course, when we want to do this at the regional level, there were issues like financial resources, there were issues like logistics and transport. Yeah, how are we going to coordinate? I would suggest that we have the AFSRB. Yeah, maybe after this we need a board which basically implement all these planning. Yeah, at the regional level. Yeah, we must have all the members of the 10 countries so that we have to see this in a bigger picture. As the growth of population, as I mentioned, growing from 660 million people to 723 million people by 2023, this is something really serious to look at. And Malaysia basically have to bring this up to another level. Just since we are talking about this since 1968, yeah, it's not something that is not feasible. Yeah, it is totally, we already have the basis, we already have the platform. It's just that we have to take this challenge and step up, from what it is now.
Well, we're just getting started, and next we will start talking about, we will zoom in more about the Malaysia's position in terms of food security, but stay with us and more on ASEAN Kita right after this.
Hello Miri, 10 dan 11 Mei ini, semua dijemput ke Permaisuri Imperial City Mall.
Korang nak berhibur tak?
Alami kepelbagaian dunia hiburan Astro.
Suka tak?
Berhibur bersama artis-artis sensasi kami.
Ajak kau isi.
Pelanggan Astro, rebut peluang memenangi pas sesi foto dengan Astro Rewards.
Jom.
Jumpa kita di sana kelak.
Di dalam setiap berita yang dibawa, konteks amat penting. Kami sentiasa membawakan yang tergempar dan terkini. Pastikan Astro AWANI menjadi pilihan anda, tidak kira di mana sahaja anda berada.
Welcome back to ASEAN Kita, and we're speaking with Professor Aimi Zulhasmi about ASEAN's battle for food security and the urgent question of whether this region can withstand future shocks to our food systems. And now we want to talk about Malaysia's position in terms of food security, Prof. Zooming into Malaysia, how would you compare our level of food self-sufficiency and resilience compared to our ASEAN neighbours? Are we leading, or are we lagging, or somewhere in the middle, Prof?
I would say we are somewhere in the middle, but we are lagging behind the leading, which is Singapore. Yeah, by all means, Singapore not only leading in region, but also the leading globally as well in terms of food security, because they understand their position being a small country which is not self-sufficient. They have to rely on import foods. I think they have basically built up a good food security system for Singapore, everything from rice, other staple food as well. So we have basically a lot to learn from how Singapore do it. And for us, I was made known that we may have a supply level not more like 3 to maximum 6 months. Yeah, then if anything prolonged in terms of supply, then we have a problem. So in terms of self-sufficiency, food security, it is a security issue in Malaysia. And these are all happening as we can see, and it's a bigger issue recognized by the government. But unfortunately, not much been done on this. Especially we are relying a lot of the imported foods items, coming into Malaysia. But we can't say that we're not doing. We can't say that this is not something that we can live with. We look at Singapore, even though it's a small country, but it has enough for the citizen. But we have to look at how we can do this. We can still import foods. How we going with the storage? How about the rice? Yeah, how about not only rice, how about other food? So Malaysia, just like other countries in ASEAN and globally, we are being challenged. Yeah, in terms of land usage for agriculture, I would say based on the data, 1/5 of the agricultural land available is only planted for food crops. The rest, like 4/5, is basically commercial plot like palm oil. So that is the reason, and that also includes that 1/5 also include like you go to Cameron Highland, vegetable and all those things. But 4/5, because we are being the second largest producer of palm oil, so the focus is more on the commercial plantation instead of food crops. So that what makes it more than before important for this, and then as well as the phase of industrialization, growing numbers of population, which basically need more houses as well. So it is a big challenge role for Malaysia in terms of self-sufficiency, food security, in terms of supply overall, which is not an odd problem. It is a common problem in a lot of developing countries.
You mentioned that we are somewhere in the middle and quite far away from Singapore, which is far more advanced in terms of food security. Do you think the government has that political will? Because I remember Minister Dato Sri Rafizi Ramli saying that in terms of food security, it's not really a sexy topic for any government to do some sort of initiative towards it, to fix the problem, to make sure that the country is self-sufficient in terms of food security and also agriculture. Do you think the government, do you see now, do you evaluate them, have that kind of political will, and actually we are moving towards in terms of becoming more self-sufficiency in terms of our food security, Prof?
I think the current government is facing a restructuring of the economy actually. Everything you can talk about the subsidy besar, targeted subsidy from the fuel, as well as the other consumer products. So this is one of the issue they want to overcome with first. Okay, then maybe next one will be the food security. Hopefully, because the subsidy given to the given a lot, I think even exceeded the amount of the development under the budget, annual budget that we give every year. So we must try to reduce this wholesale, I would call it, instead of targeted subsidy. Right, then we can look at the food security. But food security is a critical issue. The more that we wait, the more we put ourselves at risk. And the way the geopolitical issues that are ongoing, the many factors, it is highly. I think we have to start somewhere. We can't wait until that we implement the RON 95 only then to start this issue on food security. And as I said earlier, that we imported now, I think close to 70, not mistaken, around 76 billion ringgit of food annually as of 2023. So that has grown a lot. From I think in 2018 was only about around 46 billion. Okay, maybe the amount of food has increased, but actually what we are having is basically the inflated, imported inflation that coming into Malaysia, causing the price of goods to increase. This is something that we need to look at as well. And if we be able to prepare for our food security issues, we have to look at also the storage. We have to look at the pricing, of the goods that we imported. So total reliance on of course, we imported beef from India. We import like agriculture products from Indonesia. It's cheaper, but at the same time we have to go really big on agriculture. How are we going to go on the modern agriculture? And it's not something impossible. We can look at countries like we can learn from Thailand. Thailand is very advanced in terms of agriculture. The government emphasized a lot of agriculture technology in Thailand. Besides that one, the most successful country in the world in agriculture, a small country, used to be the same size population as Malaysia, but now slightly smaller than Malaysia, is Netherlands. The Netherlands is one of the biggest producers of agriculture crops for the world. And then how they managed to do it? So we must learn from these two countries how they go about, and in terms of maybe they see different weather, maybe because of 4 seasons and all those things. But under the modern agriculture, that is no longer an issue, and we can look at how Thailand, and we also must also look at the main issue here in Malaysia in terms of food supply, become more expensive. How we're going to control the storage is the cartels, the supply chain, the middlemen who are controlling the price and so on, the importers. And even though the current government has devoid the use of the APs and all those things, but still the same people are still controlling the whatever you say. Any food that is imported, even though we have chicken and eggs, locally produced, but the maize are actually imported, from overseas. Why can't we use our own agriculture? Sometimes they was talking about the waste from the oil palm, oil palm, all those things. We have developed that, but it never happened. Why are still importing maize from Ukraine and other countries? Why? Because all these are basically controlled by certain cartels. So these are the things that we must look at, and the government must basically intervene, looking at the supply chain, how we're going to do it, because it's not only about storage, it's all about logistics. It's all about not only about supply these resources, how we control all this. So in terms of coordination, there's a lot of effort needed. There's a lot of effort on the government side, and they must work in hand with the businesses, especially the small medium industries. We need to grow our SMEs. Our SMEs, most of our SMEs in Malaysia, the micro SMEs, they're all involved in food production. Food related industry, either restaurants, food businesses and whatnot. So this is something that we need to really seriously look at. And something we need to learn fast from our neighbor, or from Netherlands.
Prof, we are seeing the return of trade protectionism and the rising of geopolitical uncertainty. Given this landscape, how risky it is for the region to still be so dependent on food imports from outside the region, Prof?
As I mentioned earlier, Aiman, that we need to really look at Malaysia alone is not enough. We need to move as a trade bloc, and ASEAN is not only a political bloc. It needs to be a very strong economic bloc. It need to be like EU. It need to be like other successful trade blocs to negotiate with other trade blocs. When we have like protectionism coming in, why can't ASEAN also do the same on negotiation basis? Why can't ASEAN also trade with EU and so on? We have issues like, for example, our palm oil. Our palm oil exported to EU, and then we have all this ban, all those things. So this, if we move together as ASEAN, instead of just Malaysia and Indonesia currently, then we have a bigger voice. So in terms of food security-wise, so this is something that we need to look at. We need to work as a team, because collectively we are stronger. Collectively we can influence many I think issues globally. And then we need to look at this relationship, because people also looking at the ASEAN itself being about 700 million people strong, and with a rising middle class income, and then with all the purchasing power and with all the rich natural resources in our part of the world. And ASEAN stands to do that. So Malaysia, being the chairman of ASEAN, need to look at this more globally, looking at leading the chair, leading the bloc to a higher level. We could not be what we were. I think ASEAN has been established for decades, and then looking at these critical issues with geopolitical risk, with the supply destruction on global supply chain, with reducing land for agriculture, urbanization, growing population, a really comprehensive plan, Aiman. We need that to do that. And it's not only planned, it must be properly executed. It must be a steering committee, at ASEAN level to drive this to drive all these implementations.
Prof, with the final minutes that we have, I want to talk about the climate change impact also as well for the region. We're already seeing the effects of climate volatility, extreme weather, floods, droughts all over Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
How is this affecting agricultural productivity in real terms, and are we adapting fast enough?
We are definitely not. Definitely not. There are certain countries which quite, I think I'm impressed with, like Thailand. They have a lot of young people going into agriculture because Thailand really emphasizes a lot on the agriculture industry. They are really, for example, they have apps which tracks rain, which track drought. So they can basically, the farmers can basically install these apps and can understand when the rain going to be. So all this modern technology must be adapted. Yeah, so not only Thailand and this kind of technology, this app must be transferred to the whole ASEAN region. So this technology we must learn together. So this is what we need to do. And then using technology, a lot of R&D, Malaysia, yeah, and especially Singapore, they're very advanced in the vertical farming. How they're utilizing, how they utilize very limited space and then produce, a lot of crops, lot of produce. So this is something that we need to look at. Of course, you look at the country that in terms of infrastructure they are lacking, like Myanmar, Laos, even Cambodia, yeah, but it's something that we can look at. And this is where how we work together with ASEAN Plus 3. So we hope that the ASEAN Plus 3, the other 3 countries, China, Korea, yeah, and will come together, and Japan, yeah, invest in our part of the world, because we have a very fertile land, we have a good weather. Even though we have this, we'll call that, this problem with our weather, but still in terms of fertilization, in terms of land, in terms of resources, we are there. So we need more investment, not only in terms of technology, industrial, not only about manufacturing. We also need investment in terms of agriculture itself. We need to produce more goods. China is the biggest producer of wheat. India is the second largest producer of wheat. So how can we do that? Yeah, and then we know that countries like Myanmar, Thailand, Cambodia, they are good producers of rice, yeah, which is something to look at. And then we don't need to basically follow other plans. We need to have our own unique agriculture plan for our own region. And the background of changing, as you said, climate change, quite rapidly. Yeah, we cannot expect. Yeah, so we must use technology on that. And that is also the issue, as you mentioned, also geopolitics, which we must be able to balance. And of course, the current China and the United States, debates, whether we'll go on or not. Okay.
Thank you very much. That brings us to the end of the episode of ASEAN Kita today. What clear is this? Food security isn't just about farming or trade. It's about strategy and survival. And as ASEAN move forward, the choices we make today will decide whether our region can fit itself tomorrow. A big thank you to Professor Aimizul Hazmi for the insights, and to you for watching. Until next time, I'm Raiman. Have a good day.